Welcome, everybody, to the Gridiron Circle. I'm Jason Wilson, the Wingman, and we're joined by Robbie Wells, former college coach, and Mike Hollis, an NFL legend and former Jacksonville Jaguars kicker. Welcome to the show, gentlemen.
Hey
Thank you.
guys.
All right, all right. So today we're going to get into some conversation about our expectations for this coming season. And Robbie, we're going to begin with you. You can introduce yourself.
Coaching in the SEC at the University of South Carolina and went on down to South Carolina State University as the defensive coordinator, and then made history as the first white head football coach at a Division I HBCU, and that was at Savannah State. So, really excited to be able to talk football a little bit this football season and look at some of the greatest players that play the game, of course, because the cream does rise to the top. We're really honored to have Mike on this show as well. Mike actually led the NFL in scoring back, I believe it was 1997. I'm pretty good with stats and following the numbers. So truly a pleasure to be here, and I'm looking forward to see what this season brings.
Hey guys, I'm Mike Hollis. I'm a NFL retired All-Pro kicker of 9 years. Played with the Jaguars for 7 years, Buffalo Bills for 1 year, and the New York Giants for my last year in the NFL. Retired after I had 4 back surgeries, so kind of got out of the game at that point. But I still am involved with our Jaguar Legends group and our alumni here locally in Jacksonville. And I love being part of the team still, trying to at least being around the guys and just talking football. That was part of my life for a very long time. And I really enjoy, giving some inside information on, what's kind of going on behind the scenes, specifically with special teams and things like that. So definitely looking forward to chatting with everybody about football and just diving down and getting everyone else's opinions about what's going on in the NFL at the time. So looking forward to this.
All right, I'm Jason Wilson. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. As you can see, I'm a Dirty Birds fan, and I'm a diehard fan as well. I've been following the Falcons since the early '80s when I started to watch football with my dad. And so we're talking about Steve Bartkowski, William Andrews, Alfred Jenkins, all those guys from the past. And as all other Atlanta Falcons fans, we want to see our Dirty Birds get to the postseason. I mean, we haven't been since 2016 and that devastating loss to Tom Brady. And so we're looking at some redemption this season. All right, y'all. So, Robbie Wells, what's the expectations for this coming season?
Well, as much as I am a coach and like to analyze all the different teams, I still have my favorite team. And I know there's probably a lot of people out here that are laughing about it, but I do pull for the Cowboys. I have pulled for them since I was a little kid. And so I will be pulling for them again. Hopefully they don't break my heart again this year, like it's been broken for, I believe, 31 years in a row now, Mike. So, the streak has to come to an end. It really does. So we're going to see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. What about you and the Jaguars, Mike?
Well, yeah, much like what Robbie had just mentioned. I mean, we went through a hard drought as well, and last year was a year we actually picked it up and actually became a team again. And there's a few maybe some fluke years, 2017 with the AFC Championship game and so forth. But back when I played, we went in the 7 years here I was with the Jaguars. We went to 2 AFC Championship games. We're top of the league for many of those 7 years. So it was a little different to see the Jaguars, not doing so well. And so I'm very optimistic about my Jaguars this year. And Robbie, I know how you feel with the Cowboys. It's very frustrating at times when you have the numbers and the stats. The players, you look at their numbers like, man, we should have a great team, and then you have a miserable team. And so
Right.
it's just one of those things that everyone's got to be playing the same on every given Sunday. They don't say that for a reason, right? So it's definitely an opportunity to hopefully this year will be a very optimistic opportunity to have our teams win, and of course have some good football on TV.
All right, so Robbie, man, what team from the Cowboys is your favorite? What
Well,
year are we talking about?
well, back when I was a very young child, I got turned on to the Cowboys when I was about 7, and Roger Staubach, Tony Dorsett, Robert Newhouse. I actually recruited Robert Newhouse's son, Reggie, back when I was at the University of South Carolina. That was years ago, but that was pretty cool because I told Reggie when he came on his official visit, I said, the only way I'm bringing you on an official visit is if you bring me an action shot of your dad signed. And so he did. But yeah, those teams back then, I still think back to that Monday night football game when the Cowboys were playing the Vikings and Tony Dorsett went 99 yards, still the longest run, in Cowboys history for a touchdown. So I look at that. Then I'm also proud of the Cowboys, even right after their 3 Super Bowls with Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin. After that, because several of my former players from USC ended up playing there for the Cowboys, and of course, Troy Hambrick being the starting running back, and he actually split time with Emmitt Smith for a while towards the end of Emmitt's career. In fact, he and Emmitt were together when Emmitt actually broke the all-time rushing record there in Dallas. And what's crazy is that was after those 3 Super Bowls, and a lot of those players were gone, but they kept Emmitt, and of course he broke the record. So yeah, there's been all sorts of great moments, and I'm proud to say that I am a fan.
Awesome. I got to say this, man, as an Atlanta fan, okay, of course, the Cowboys are one of the biggest rivals of the Atlanta Falcons. And so growing up, I was still, though, a fan of Tony Dorsett, Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith. He's from Pensacola, actually. And, my dad's family is from Pensacola. So, I was partial to the Cowboys on that standpoint. But, as far as them winning, though, I never wanted them to win. But I saw that Netflix series, man, about Jerry Jones. And, I had a different perspective on the Cowboys after I saw that.
Oh yeah.
And, yeah,
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 Jerry, and a lot of people have misunderstood, but when he bought the team, he literally bought that team so that he could bring his kids back together and work with them, and have them in his life instead of just on Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays. So I applaud him and respect him for that, and uh, to be able to do what he did and the way he did, the way he bought the team. I don't know if you've ever heard that story, but he actually
yeah.
had a cameo appearance 2 seasons ago on the show Landman with Billy Bob Thornton. And he's sitting there in a hospital room and he's actually given an account of how he bought the Cowboys. His daughter had gone to college out in Stanford, and he was making up excuses to go out there and see her. So he ended up buying several lots in this cul-de-sac, I believe it was, and he drilled for oil and hit it big, and he used that money to buy the Cowboys. True
Yeah,
story.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things from a coaching point of view, man, um, do you think that Jerry Jones was too involved with the coaching of the team, and that it interfered at some points with them being able to actually win games?
Okay, that's a valid question because there's been a 31-year drought. But here's what I'll say: in the time he's been there, they've won 3 Super Bowls, and he was doing the same thing when they won as the same thing he's done when they've been a little bit, come up a little bit short. Um, I remember just 3 seasons ago when they went undefeated at home. I don't know if you guys remember that. Now they lost the first round of the playoffs. Okay, they've got a problem there that they've got to overcome. They've got an albatross around their neck that they've got to break loose of that and actually be able to win some playoff games, but they've got to win to get to the playoffs. So, but he's the same person now that he was when they won 3 of those Super Bowls. And, you know, I think there's more than one way to skin a cat. I'm sure you've heard that saying before. So what works for him may not work for another team. So you just have to go with it.
Yeah, yeah. And I will say this though, since Arthur Blank has taken over the Atlanta Falcons as the owner, um, okay, we've been to one Super Bowl under his leadership, but since 2016, we haven't been back. A lot of people think that maybe his involvement as the owner needs to change. I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that. I mean, a lot of good things have happened since he's been the owner. So it just depends. I don't know. We need to take a look at this season and see what happens. But getting over to you, Mike. Now, over the past 2-3 seasons, we've seen a lot of missed field goals, man. I don't think I've seen so many missed field goals as of late. And what do you think is the cause for this?
Well, I mean, they have been getting a lot better, these kickers, and especially at the longer distances, which is, just incredible to me. I think of like my longest field goal in an NFL game was 59 yards. And man, I was on top of the world. 59 yards? Are you kidding me? That's a bomb, and now these guys are kicking it no problem, And so I don't really know, honestly, what the problem could be. And if you think about it, you go into details, the people ask so many questions about why kickers are so good now. I'm kind of redirecting the question because I think they're really good. Yes, there was some mishaps last year and maybe the year before, but for the most part, these guys are pretty solid. I mean, they're kicking pretty solid, 90%. So I think, when you involved a only time snapper, like that's all his job is to snap the ball. There's a lot to be said when you think about a field goal and the operation happening under 1.3 seconds.
Right.
A lot can happen in 1.3 seconds, right? And so you think about a snapper that can get the ball at exactly the same spot every single time with, this is the important part, the laces straight ahead every single time. You got to wonder, like, wow, that is just crazy. And as a kicker, I look at these guys and I'm a little jealous because they're spoiled. And as a holder, all you have to do is catch the ball and put it straight down. Like there's no problems typically for the most part. Now there have been some issues here and there, but so you got snappers that are really good, holders that don't really have much challenge other than catching a football and putting it down on the ground. They don't even have to spin the laces really much anymore. And then you got the field conditions. The fields have been, obviously there's that AstroTurf, not AstroTurf. That's back in my day. We got the field turf now. And so again, if you think of any sort of artificial surface, you're not going to have the divots and the loose footing like you would on a regular grass field in the fourth quarter after all these big linemen are chewing up the middle of the field where exactly you're kicking the field goal from. So those are things that people don't really realize. They don't think too much in detail about. I remember playing a game in Foxborough. It tells you, when that was. It was a long time ago. The field was horrible. I mean, I could have rototilled my garden and had a better footing than I did on that field. There was another game in Cincinnati I can bring up too. It's probably a little bit worse than that. But Brian Schwartz, our linebacker, blew his knee out, tore his ACL on that field in Foxborough. And I remember having to kind of, before a kickoff, I had to sweep away all the divots in the chunks of grass for my kickoff approach. In late in the game, it's like, this is crazy. What am I doing here? This is nuts. Like, so again, there's a lot of things I know I'm babbling here, but as far as kicking is concerned, that have made kickers much better these days. And of course, the training and the coaching has gotten a lot better too. So there's a combination of a lot of things.
And I'm going to add to that, Mike. I remember back when I was at USC, and our kicking coach, his name was John Fabris. And one thing, he was just so intense. But he was intense on purpose to get the kids intense. He said, because it was a one play and out mentality. It's not like going on defense where you go, 3 plays and you try to make it a fourth down where they got a punt, or when you're on offense and you keep trying to get first downs. It's one play, literally. And so he said, it's a one play and out mentality. You guys have got to be a different bird, a different cat, a different way of thinking. And every man is a brick. Every man is a brick, and you don't need to have a hole in that brick wall that you're building with that one play.
Yeah, that's a great point. People, you think about golf. all these golf, there's full, tournaments are 4 days long,
Right.
18 holes each day. You can screw up not too much, but you can still, as a professional golfer, make up for any, mistakes and all that, and have some time and, some shots to make up. Kicking, like you said, is one. Baseball, you get 3 strikes and 4 balls, kind of thing. It's like you get multiple opportunities to hit a ball. Kicking, not so much.
Not so much. One play and out. One play and out. Got to make it count.
So, Robbie, growing up, it was one of your goals, man, to be a college football coach.
Right.
And why is that, Robbie? Why did you want to be a coach?
So when I went to my very first college football game, I was literally 12 years old. This was 1980, and sat in the nosebleeds in the end zone of Bryant-Denny Stadium watching Alabama play against Ole Miss. And this is back when Bear Bryant was the head coach for Alabama. And the first time Alabama had the ball, the first 2 times their first team scored, and it's 14-0. So he puts his second string in. They scored the first 2 times they had the ball. It's 28-0 in the first quarter. And then by halftime, he had emptied the bench with his third string, and it was like 38-0. And over the loudspeakers at the beginning of the halftime, the PA announcer says, "All JVs report to the locker room," because they were going to dress them out and let them play against Ole Miss in that second half. What's crazy about watching that, unlike other little kids that would say, "Yeah, I want to be a football player. I want to be like number 44 or, number 12 or whatever." I remember late in that game looking down, I said, and I'm pointing down on the field, I said, "I want to do that one day." And everybody starts laughing. I'm just a 12-year-old kid. And my dad says to me, "What, you want to play at Alabama?" I said, No. I want to do what he's doing." I was pointing at Coach Bryant. I said, "The man in the hat. I want to do what that he's doing." And my dad looked at me. Everybody's laughing. And my dad looked at me and he grabbed me by the face like this. And he said, "Well, if that's what you want to do, then do it." And it stuck with me, and I did it. And actually had a chance to coach in that same stadium against Alabama. That was back when Mike DeBose was the head coach there. And we had a really, really hard fought game that day. And that was when I was coaching with Lou Holtz. That was really cool.
That's awesome, man. When it comes to leaders, I mean, you both of y'all are natural born leaders, right? I mean, but as far as the mindset that's required in order to get to where you achieved in life, what was it required talking about mindset, Robbie, that helped you to get to that level?
Well, I think that having a dad in the home, okay, was critical, and it is critical. I look at our world today, and so many kids are being raised by single moms. And I'm not cutting on the single moms; they do a great job. But I had a dad in the home that instilled that toughness in me, and he would come home uh, from working all day, and he was a minister, but he would come home late in the afternoon. We'd go out in the yard, and he'd be the quarterback. He'd be Roger Staubach, and I'd catch passes from him every day, and it just carried over. Then I ended up going and playing college ball, playing that position, playing wide receiver. So I attribute it to the fact that I had a real strong father figure, you know, and I know there's a lot of guys in the NFL that don't, but for somebody that doesn't have as much talent like myself, I couldn't run like all these other guys ran, but I had the work ethic. Okay. And I got my chances to do some things simply because of the work ethic. And I think it was because I had a male figure in my life.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. And for Mike, do you have any other professional athletes in your family?
No, I don't really have much athletes in my family at all to begin with. I had my sister. I've got 2 stepbrothers and a half brother, so none of them really did. My half brother was a downhill snow skier. He was really really fast, and he was good at that during his younger ages. Never really did much with that. My sister did a little track, maybe like a little like smidge. And my 2 stepbrothers played a little bit of football, but nothing crazy. And I was the only sibling in my family to finish or even attend college and go to college and even finish college. So I didn't have that. I did have, friends in the neighborhood and people I hung out with that could, I could train with and have fun with and be a kid and improve my skills, whether I knew it or not. Just being out in the yard playing is something that I love to do. And I think that was kind of a snowball effect to my soccer, and then which eventually turned into kicking. And so that's, to answer your question about any sort of, regimen or I had, or what contributed to my success as far as the mental side of it. I just, that starts with passion. I developed a passion in kicking a football because I was kind of good at it, but I kind of felt like it's more of a challenge. I was very intrigued to see how good I physically could be. And that was my goal. I didn't think I was going to play in the NFL. I didn't really have a desire to it. I thought, well, God, that would be great, but I got to be pretty good if I want to be at that level. And every day it was like a baby step. I always talk about that in my podcast about baby steps. You take a day by day, kick by kick by kick, and you grow upon each opportunity to get better. And whatever, if you got to pick the right mechanics and the right process. Once you understand the right process, which I was taught, and you understand, you believe that, then it's just a matter of just trusting it. And that's really where, the goal is to really just get yourself in a position where you can trust the mechanics of the process that's you see results. You're like, oh, this ball's flying, it's going straight, high, far, great, great rotation. Then just keep trying that and just move forward with that. So it's an awesome opportunity to kind of challenge yourself. That's, as a kicker, it's you and the ball. That's it, basically. And so it's everything is you're responsible for what the ball does. And so that was very challenging for me. And I took that as a challenge. As competitive as I am, I'm very competitively natured, of course. And I just wanted to see how good I could be.
So Mike, I want to ask you a question because I know you played in Idaho right before you went into the NFL, and you were a vandal. And the reason I know is because we played you guys when I was at Furman, played you in the playoffs. Can you tell me what I know what vandalizing things is, but what is your mascot? What does that mean? A vandal?
It's a very common question, believe it or not, because people do think, what do you guys just go around vandalizing things?
I just tear things up.
No, it's like a medieval, like a Viking. So if you think of a vandal as like a Viking, that's the best way I can describe it. It's like a Viking. It's an old, like again, a Viking. Like if you think of maybe a lower level Viking, we'll put it that way.
Well, you could turn it on. You could turn it on me and say the same thing because I played for the Furman Paladins, and a lot of people don't know what a paladin is either. So it's like a knight. It's like a knight. So
okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, I know both of y'all are men of God, right? And Robbie, your dad was a minister.
Right.
So how much of spirituality did it take or did it play in you becoming a coach?
Well, growing up as a kid, listening to my father and a lot of other big time ministers, Adrian Rogers, he was the president of the Southern Baptist Convention. He's passed away now, of course, but he was huge across this country. He actually did a revival in our church. And I had the opportunity to hear a lot of these great ministers speak. And, I do a lot of speaking now too. And I think a lot of it is because of the way I do speak is because of what I was brought up in. But one thing that I was taught as a kid was that ministry is not just getting up in the pulpit and preaching a sermon. You can have a ministry of all sorts of things. You can be in the ministry and be a car mechanic. And so as a football coach, I just said for those 20 years, that was the ministry of the cap and whistle. And I really looked at it as an honor to be able to do that because a lot of those kids that I was working with, I was the only father figure they had. And that's a big responsibility. And, I think back on one of the guys, his name's Cody Lucas, and Cody played for me at South Carolina State University. He came in as a true freshman my first year there as defense coordinator. And he's playing middle linebacker. Now, I want you to think about this. Now, he ended up starting at middle linebacker at an HBCU, and he's white. So he was tough, Mike. But his freshman year during our two-a-day practices, his father died of cancer. And so, from that moment on, I had to step into that role for that kid and a lot of other kids too. Now, I'm proud to say that Cody went on and now he's up for being a full bird colonel in the United States Army, and he's based over in Germany right now. But there's all sorts of great stories with guys I've had the opportunity to coach with, and I think being able to see them be successful, whether they played in the NFL or whether they went on to a career in the military or a career being a doctor, a lawyer, a minister, a teacher, whatever, a coach, and I've had all those guys do that, and it's been awesome. I had someone ask me the other day, said, "You got any kids?" I said, "Yeah, I got some kids." "How many kids you got?" I said, "It's over 1,000." And they looked at me, their eyes got real big, and they said, "Over 1,000 kids?" I said, "Yeah, I was a college football coach for 20 years." I said, "Every one of those players is my kids."
Mm,
So yeah.
that's awesome. So, Mike, in your case, man, I mean, you faced all kinds of challenges, man, trying to get to the professional level that you got to with the NFL. I mean, both of us are the same height, actually, man. 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. um, and your coach, man, that was taking a look at you to make the team, didn't agree with you making the team because of your height. So, how did you get through all of these challenges trying to get to that level?
Well, one word: faith and trust and faith and trust in my path in life, and what, again, going back to that passion, I was very passionate about it, so it was like something I enjoyed doing. But I knew what I was capable of doing, and I just had faith that if I get in front of enough people, show enough people my skills, regardless of my size. Again, that was a stigma, and I don't know if it still is or not, but yeah, I had to convince a lot of people that just because I was a small guy that I could still kick a ball far. A lot of these coaches, and Robbie, you can kind of probably attest to this, is you think that a kicker, the bigger kicker that they have, even if he mishits the ball, he's still got all that weight behind the ball. It's still going to go down the field. Yes, that is kind of true, but because I'm small and my form is good, and I'm able to use 100% of my body weight to kick the ball the way I do. I think that it attributes to my success and the way I did it. And so I had a lot of people to prove wrong, but it really came down to me. It really came down to my beliefs in myself and my abilities. And I witness every day when I kick a football how good or bad it is, right? And so it's a matter of not, I can't talk anybody into hiring me as a kicker, and I got to show them. And so I had to put my money where my mouth was. In other words, you can have an agent or myself even talking and trying to talk ourselves into a job, like, hey, I'm good, or my agents say, Mike, Mike's good, here's his stats, whatever. But if you're a small guy, you kind of have to prove it on in real life. And that's what Tom Coughlin, I think, is the coach you were referring to. But I had to
Yeah,
work out for the Jaguars like 3 different times. Like it was I had to convince him. And the last
Yeah.
time they finally said, Tom Coughlin wants to fly you in. He wants to be on the field and watch you with his own eyes, because he still doesn't believe that you are as good as what we're telling him and what he sees on the video. I'm like, okay,
Okay.
good.
Yeah, go do it.
Yeah.
So I want to throw this out there, and I don't know if the NFL will listen, but this is something that I think that would excite the fans and bring a new level of fans to actually watch the game. Late in the game, we've seen a lot of teams, they'll be down by 4, and they have to go for the touchdown and the win. Whereas if they're down by 3, they could kick and they could tie it with a long field goal. So what I'd like to see in the last 2 minutes of the game is that the NFL goes to a scoring situation where if it's over 60 yards, it's a 4-point field goal,
Yeah.
which would really change the game. If you ask me, you could have a whole lot more games that go into overtime
yeah,
because of that. Um, so it's not something that they would need to do during regular season, but what they could do is try it during preseason when the games don't really count, you know,
Mhm.
and,
Yeah.
and just see what the fan thoughts would be on that.
Well, you do know that the XFL, or actually the UFL now, it's called the UFL now, but
Yeah,
they do 4 point field goals. So
exactly. They do, and
Mhm.
and it's funny. I've been talking about this for years, and now here's the XFL doing it,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
it started with the XFL with
or
but
USFL now. Yeah,
yeah, with USFL, and then they merged with XFL, and now it's a United Football League or whatever. But
right.
I was with a company called Your Call Football, and this was back in 2020, I believe, maybe
hmm
even 2019. And they came to Jacksonville to do little games, but they had the XFL was there. They were about to start up again, I guess the XFL did, and of course COVID kind of squashed that. But they were experimenting with some different rules, and the kickoff rule was one of them. And you guys understand now that the way the NFL is doing the kickoffs, the way they're doing them, that stemmed from the XFL. I witnessed it. I was a coach on the field looking at this stuff back in the day
Right.
when they were experimenting with it, and now it's a real thing. So it does happen.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, I'd like to see the NFL, do something like that. It would definitely create a sense of excitement. Um, what's the team going to do? They're going to go for the win, or are they going to go for a tie and go into overtime? But then you could actually put another little twist into it too. If you go for the long field goal and you miss it, you lose a point.
Ooh,
oh,
interesting.
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, speaking of something that has changed the game dramatically is the instant replay. There were several games, Robbie, last season for the Falcons that could have gone either way, but when it came to the instant replay, it actually made us lose the game. So, are you in agreement with instant replay, or should it
Well,
be taken
it's
away?
not that the instant replay made you lose the game. It's that you didn't make the play, and the instant
Yeah.
replay got it right. So I'm all for instant replay. I am. In fact, it could get to the point where you don't need so much of the human error of the refs so much as maybe to keep the clock going and so forth. But as far as actually spotting it, you could actually, with AI and everything right now, they could get real time where the ball's actually supposed to be spotted, if it was a catch, if it was not a catch, if it was a fumble, if it was not a fumble, so forth and so on.
That's true. That's true. What do you think about that, Mike?
I agree. I think it's a little, when the NFL changes a lot of rules, I think it kind of messes with like the records and the record book and things like, which isn't a big deal. But when we're playing, these days, with the instant replay and rule changes and things like that, you look about, back when I played, man, if there was instant replay back when I played, I think we would have won maybe a couple more games. And so it could have changed the outcome of the game. And so that's the only thing kind of is a little bit of a drawback. But, we're not living in the past. We're moving to the future. And again, if you want to make the games as fair as possible, clearly, I think the instant replay is a good option. It's just that it kind of messes with the past and records and things like that. That's the only drawback.
Yeah. Yeah. True story. So back to you, Robbie. Do you think that the NFL is doing enough in the area of mental health to help their players?
Well, if you're talking about the concussion
Yeah.
issue that's out
CTE.
there right now, yeah,
CTE. Yeah.
yeah, it's a whole lot more that's being done now than back when Mike and I played. Of course, I didn't play in the NFL, but back when we were playing in college, that was not even thought of. Just get up, shake it off, go again. You'll be fine. That type deal. Um, it does make for an open discussion with what's going on right now. I listened to Brett Favre a few days ago talking about, basically on every play that he got hit, his head was getting jarred.
Mm,
So, and
yeah.
now here he is. He's got some physical issues, and a lot of it is being attributed to that. I think he's actually got Parkinson's now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, it's definitely an issue that they're taking a much stronger look at now. I will say that I had two concussions, one in high school, one in college, and never even left the game. Just kept going, kept playing. And the college game, the crazy thing about that one was I don't remember the game, but I played it.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Now I can't even think back to that game. I can remember all the rest of them vividly, but not that one.
What do you think, Mike?
Yeah, that's scary. I do believe that there's something to it. Yes, and I agree with Robbie. They are doing the best they can. They're changing rules to make guys more safe. You know, there's no wedge anymore on a kickoff, which I think makes perfect sense because
Yeah.
that's where a lot of the concussions were happening too. Speaking of special teams, of course, but yeah, you know, I remember even back in the day, our equipment manager Bobby Monica had a relative, a cousin or brother or something that was involved in the shoulder pads or helmets. I can't remember, one of the two, or maybe both, in a certain pad. I remember going to an office one time. He said, "Yeah, put your hand down on this table." I'm like, "Why?" He grabs a sledgehammer and he put this thin material over my hand. He took the sledgehammer up. I'm like, "Dude, are you serious?" And he hit my hand and it didn't hurt at all. I'm like, "Whoa, that was interesting." So
Huh.
that was a long time ago, and so I know that you're making advancements in the
Sure.
protection and in the pads and things that we're wearing. So, but I do think it's tough. I mean, you think of sports that are involved in head injuries, and even like soccer. They were talking even like when guys are even heading the ball, the soccer ball is kind of jarring their brain back and forth a little bit, and they've found that there are some CTE issues in soccer as well. And so I feel, you know, as a kicker, I clearly chose the right position because I was definitely not. Have I had my bell rung? Yeah, I've got. I don't know if I had really concussion. I've seen stars before, but not nearly as bad as some of the guys. You know, I come in on a Monday morning after a Sunday game and walk through the training room. It looks like MASH. You know, I got all these people just
Right.
laid up on tables with all kinds of diodes and things sticking out of them, ice packs everywhere. It's like, man, I could never be a running back ever. That would kill me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. All right, so for you, Robbie, do you have a wish list of people that we could have here on the show, man, to be part of our panel and talk about games?
Well, you know, it's going to be kind of hard to get current players because they're so tied into the season and current coaches. But
Yeah,
I think the wish list would be able to get like a Brunel that played for the Jaguars, to get, let's say, a Roger Staubach or uh, you know, maybe a Troy Aikman or an Emmett Smith or Marcus Allen, some of those guys, and bring them on and let them, you know, give their side of it too.
that would be awesome. Yeah, that's a good list too, man.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
What was the
What
name?
about you,
Hey,
Mike?
I know you know this, Mike. Back when the Jaguars, I think it was either the second season or the third, y'all made it to the AFC Championship, right?
Hmm.
Your left tackle was amazing. That offensive left tackle, he had the blind side of Brunel. Who was that guy?
You talk about Tony Baselli?
Tony Baselli. That's him.
Absolutely. His locker was right next to mine, and he's the slob.
Was he? I tell you what, though, he was the first one that really started bringing attention to that position and getting that position paid like the big time franchise salary.
He is in the NFL Hall of Fame after only 7 seasons in the NFL. That's how good that dude is.
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
Yep, and
Amazing.
he's now our assistant to the president, I believe, with the Jaguars. I don't know. There's some title he has. He's somewhat important with the Jaguars now, and so that's his role now. So
Yeah.
good for him. He's
Yeah.
done well.
What about you, Mike? You have a wish list?
Oh, I mean, any kicker. But I like the Mark Brunell request by Robbie, of course, and I can make that happen. Mark is a great dude, by the way. So you know, him and Tony used to hang out quite a bit as well. But yeah, I mean, any guys, you know, Barry Sanders would be a guy that I'd love to talk
Oh,
with.
yeah.
Kind of like an idol of mine. He's, you know, I was, you know, about my same height. Just like watching him do what he did on the field, I'm like his size, not as maybe thick and strong, clearly, but just to watch some of the things he did on that field in person. Oh my gosh! Like the two people that, you know, people ask me like, "Well, who are the most amazing athletes you've ever seen?" And they're like, "Well, Barry Sanders, one of them." But
Yeah.
again, Brett Favre, I'll bring him up again. That dude could make a play out of nowhere, just like kind of like a Tim Tebow-esque sort of thing. Like Tim would just out of nowhere just make this massive play, but Brett did it for many more years.
Almost like
Just
Mahomes.
oh yes,
Yeah.
good. Another
Yeah.
choice too.
Magician.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, for me, man, there's several Falcons that I would like to talk to. namely Steve Bartkowski. He's one of my favorite quarterbacks growing up. Um, William Andrews, he's another one. Warwick Dunn, I would like to talk to him. I'm actually connected to him on LinkedIn, so I think that's possible.
He's
Oh
a, he's
yeah.
a good
So,
dude.
yeah, yeah. What are you
Well,
gonna say, Rob?
I'd like to see Michael Vick, but now that he is the head football coach at Norfolk State University, football season, he's tied up. But now if we were doing this and it was not football season, you could probably get him.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody else. Uh,
Or get Matt Ryan.
Matt would be awesome to have on the show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another one of my favorite quarterbacks too, man. I don't think that the Falcons would have gotten to the Super Bowl in 2016 if it wasn't for Matt Ryan.
Oh,
I mean, those are
yeah.
those are some incredible catches in that Super Bowl, man, and throws as well. Let me ask you this, Robbie: were you surprised about that result in that Super Bowl?
No, I was not, because Tom Brady is truly the GOAT. Okay, Bill Belichick was smart enough to keep Brady there that long and just put the surrounding cast around him. It didn't matter. They were, what was it, 28-6 in the fourth quarter, I believe, something like that.
Yeah.
But for them to come back, it didn't surprise me at all. No, not one bit.
What about you, Mike?
With what now?
That result of the Atlanta Falcons against
Oh,
Tom Brady.
yeah. Well, Tom Brady's Tom Brady, and it's yeah. You can never. I mean, I played for Tom Coughlin. Okay, and you think that just in any given day, going into like you got the ball like inside your own 20, and there's like maybe a minute left in halftime, we're scoring. Like, he doesn't care. Anytime we have the possession of the football, he's going to score. And I'm telling you, that mentality like that, clearly in a game like that, as the Super Bowl being behind like that. But definitely something that every team should really. I know that you want to kind of keep your players safe and everything, but man, when you get a ball, it's like arena football. You think about it, arena football, pretty much every time the offense has the ball, pretty much every time they're going to score, unless there's a
That's
turnover
right.
or they go for it on a fourth down and miss it. But that was Tom's mentality, and I agree with it. I think it's an awesome opportunity to keep points on the board anytime you can.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, gentlemen, we've come to the end of our program for today. Of course, we're going to take a look at all the games from this coming weekend, man. And I would love to get your perspective on what happened next week. We're going to talk about your expectation for the season in the next episode, and everything that's going on with the Cowboys, the Jaguars, and the Falcons. And we're going to take a look at some possible guests as well that we can have on the show and share this conversation. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for being on today's program, and good luck to the Cowboys and the Jaguars and the Falcons. And I actually pled the blood of Jesus over the Falcons for this coming season, man. We need it, and the Cowboys as well, Robbie.
Let's plead the blood of Jesus over Dak Prescott, that he stays healthy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Any requests from God for this season for the Jaguars, Mike?
just win some games, Continue on what we did last year up until the last game of the season against the Bills. Let's just forget that game and then just keep that momentum going.
Amen on that. Amen. So I know that Marcus Ogden, he shares your sentiments about the Jaguars for this season. He thinks that they can possibly go all the way, which I think they could have last season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
We'll have to see.
Anything's possible. Again, as long as we keep our guys healthy and not injury free, of course, but everyone's got to be on the same page and wanting that win. That's the thing. I always bring up Tom Coughlin when we talk about like the unity of football teams, and he was so good at finding guys that were team players, very humble, weren't not selfish, and even looking back in the days of the years that we were really good, you look on paper, we weren't as good as some like the Cowboys and other teams out there that had better athletes than we did, but we were winning more games than they did.
Well, I think about Tom Coughlin too, when he was with the Giants,
Mm-hmm.
and a couple of times his job was on the line. I mean, he was on the hot seat, getting ready to get fired, and then they get on a streak and end up winning the Super Bowl. They did it twice against Patriots.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know. All right. Let's take a few comments from the audience, man, before we get out of here. Paul Kurt Clayton, our brother from our Bible study. Hello, brothers. He was commenting on something that you said, Mike. He said perseverance. And also that's cool. So, it's going to be fun to get the audience involved in these conversations as we continue this podcast show, man. So we're looking forward to it. God bless everybody. We will be back next Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern on the dot. We had some technical difficulties today, but that's not going to stop us next week, y'all. We will be back. So have a wonderful rest of your week and take care.